7 spine-chilling disappearances exposed, terrifying cases of the haunted and unexplained, in the quaint suburb of Everwood, whispers filled the air, heavy with dread. 7 families vanished as if swallowed by the earth. No traces. No clues. Only dark tales that twisted through the streets like a vile fog. The town's children were told not to stray too far, not to play near the abandoned hospital where shadows danced behind shattered windows. It was a place that locals claimed was cursed. A place where whatever lurked, hungered, and the electricity crackled with an eerie hum whenever night fell. Lisa, young mother, felt it wrap around her like a cold, clammy hand. Late nights at the diner meant scary walks home. The streetlights buzzed overhead, casting shaky beams against the gloom. Last week, a bright-eyed girl had simply disappeared while playing hopscotch. One moment she was there, and the next, nothing. Lisa's heart raced each time she heard the rustle of leaves or the scuff of shoes behind her. Nothing was quite what it seemed in Everwood. As she walked, her baby boy, Sammy, cackled softly in his sleep, oblivious to the shadows gathering at the edges of reality. But Lisa couldn't shake the feeling. Whispers followed her, making her heart pound louder in the silence. The police dared to dismiss the disappearances. Urban myths, they said, no need for concern. Lisa had listened, but what she felt in her gut told her otherwise. There was something off in Everwood. Her instinct screamed at her to dig deeper. Each glimpse at her neighbors now seemed tainted with suspicion. Mrs. Davis next door had become a shadow of herself, her laughter replaced by paranoia. Was it her mind unraveling? Or a warning? Lisa started to notice other oddities: the flickering lights in the homes around her, late-night conversations peeking through the fragile walls, hushed tones when she walked past. Something sinister slithered under the surface, the kind of feeling that made her skin crawl. Before we continue, I need to tell you something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to their system, and many people are missing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, click the bell and select all notifications so you don't miss future videos. And if you can leave a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, tell me in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. One chilly evening, a sickening sense of dread curled within her as she noticed her neighbor, Mr. Thompson, lurking near the abandoned hospital. His shadow seemed to blend into the darkness. Was he watching? Or waiting? Lisa's heart thundered. Rather than retreating, curiosity pulled her forward. She needed answers. The deeper she ventured into the mystery of Everwood, the more she began to unravel her family's hidden ties to the very folklore that gripped the town. Something twisted within her own history, a darkness that echoed back through generations. The walls of Everwood creaked with secrets, and her nightmares turned vivid, filled with chilling laughter and whispers that skirted the edge of the truth. And then, that night, just as she uncovered a connection between past and present, something in the air grew dense. The lights above flickered ominously. Heart racing, she stepped outside, facing the shadows she had long dreaded. Suddenly, she spotted her son, Sammy, standing near the dim glow of the diner, frozen in fear. Behind him, a dark figure loomed closer, creeping like smoke. Lisa's breath hitched. Had time run out? The air thickened with malice as she grasped the reality of what was unfolding. The web tightened around her life. They were watching her. The question sliced through her panic: could she break the curse, or was she, too, bound to disappear? The figure continued to draw near, a grotesque silhouette against the diner's flickering light. Lisa's heartbeat thundered in her ears, drowning out the soft coos of her baby boy. The darkness enveloped Sammy, and he seemed to be calling for help, his wide eyes locked onto the shadow behind him. The air crackled, thick with a sense of inevitable doom. Sammy! Lisa screamed, adrenaline surging through her veins. She rushed toward him, legs heavy with dread, but something pulsed in the air, weighing her down. The figure shifted, revealing hollow eyes that glimmered with malevolence. Anxiety gripped her as she staggered forward, every step feeling like walking through mud. "Stay away from him!" she shouted, the panic igniting a fierce protectiveness within her. But the strange figure paused, tilting its head, almost curiously, as if it hadn't yet decided how to consume them. Sammy squirmed, his innocent laughter twisting into an eerie echo that sent shivers racing down Lisa's spine. She glanced back toward the diner, desperate for help that would not come. It was just her boy, and that dark force hovering ominously before them. "Mommy!" he cried, his voice cracking as he reached for her. In that moment, Lisa felt an ancient pull, an uncaring whisper in her mind that beckoned her to give in. What was it trying to say? Her heart raced with an urgency she couldn't comprehend as she fought both the draw of the curse and the primal instinct to flee. The edge of sanity danced just out of reach, every flicker of the lights above felt like a countdown to something horrible. "Let us get out of here, Sammy." She lunged forward, snatching her son into her arms and turning to sprint away. But something shifted again. From the depths of the shadows, more figures emerged, lurking at the edges of the light, coiling around her with a suffocating grip. They whispered, a chorus of gasps and giggles layered with malice. With frantic breaths, she rushed into the alley beside the diner, her vision narrowed, only focused on escape. The shadows pursued them, whispering names, 7 families lost, their voices spiraling into her mind, taunting her. "Not again," she muttered under her breath, racing past piles of forgotten debris and moldy brick walls that seemed to close in around her. An ominous, low laughter echoed in the dark, and Lisa knew in her bones they were drawing closer. Suddenly, she skidded to a halt. An enormous, black figure loomed before her, filling the alley entirely. Lights flickering with frantic energy, she caught a glimpse of an old-fashioned locket hanging from the figure's neck, glinting in the dark like a cursed jewel. It held the vaunted names of those who'd vanished, a grim trophy. Her mind spiraled as she tried to remember. Wasn't that locket in her family? The memories came crashing in, images of her grandmother telling stories about sacrifices made to keep nightmares at bay. The realization twisted her gut, she was tied to all of it. "Make a choice, Lisa," the shadowy figure hissed, inching closer. "Join them, or perish." The warmth of Sammy faded. She glanced at her baby boy, his tiny hands clutching her shirt, trust shining in his eyes. To protect him, she would have to uncover the truth, trace the dark roots of Everwood back to her very own lineage. Just then, the shadows lunged forward. In that instant, Lisa felt the weight of impending doom. The choice had to be made now, but how could she save her son and confront the malevolence consuming their town? The echoes of the past enveloped her as she braced for impact, a sinking dread meticulously filling the chasm between salvation and destruction. Would she defy the curse, or would the forces of Everwood claim her and Sammy too? And with that, in a split second of darkness, the world distorted, leaving one question echoing in her mind: was there a way out? The shadows surged, their forms twisting like smoke, taking on the grotesque shapes of the lost. Lisa clutched Sammy tighter, her breath quickening as the darkness clawed forward, eager to ensnare them both. The world around her warped, becoming an echo of screams that faded into silence, leaving only the chilling whisper of her name. "Lisa." It was a voice she recognized, a faint, haunting echo. Her grandmother's voice, reverberating like a distant memory. "The locket, you must remember," it urged. But remember what? The air thickened, making every inhale a struggle. With a surge of desperate energy, she pushed through the grip of dread, zeroing in on the locket hung around the creature's neck. It held all the secrets of Everwood. Wasn't there something more? The stories, the rituals, they had to mean something. "No! Stay back!" she shouted as the nearest shadow lunged for Sammy, its jagged fingers reaching toward her son's innocent face. She stepped back instinctively, a primal scream of terror spilling from her lips. She felt a jolt of cold fear pierce her chest. It was no longer just about survival, they craved her. "Join us," the figures chorused, their voices merging into one sinister song. Each note tightened a noose around her heart as Lisa fought a losing battle against despair. "Please," she cried, her voice cracking. "What do you want from us?" The shadows paused, their eyes flickering. She could feel the weight of their malevolence pressing down like a storm about to break. "Sacrifice," they whispered, swirling around her, an ocean of darkness. Something deep within Lisa sparked to life, a flicker of hope born from the fear. "No!" she yelled, her voice bolstered by determination. Then a thought crashed into her mind like a wave. The locket. The locket had the names of those who had come before her, the lives once lived, the souls lost. What if it could also protect them? "Release us," she demanded, looking the shadow down, a challenge igniting in her eyes. "These names bind you. You cannot have my son." The laughter rose, a cacophony of voices shrieking with derision. But Lisa didn't back down. In a move that felt instinctual, she summoned the memories of her family, the sacrifices made, the strength they wielded against the forces of darkness. The stories unlocked something deeper within her. "Let Sammy go or face the wrath of his mother," she shouted, feeling anger pulse through her veins, infusing her voice with power. The shadows recoiled, sensing a force they had not anticipated. The dark figure froze, as the whispering swelled into a furious rush of memories flooding Lisa's mind. Sacrifices made for love, hope forged in fear. There had to be balance. It wasn't just about fear, this could be about love too. "Your choice, Lisa," it hissed, each syllable a sinister curl of smoke. Just then, the enormous shadow lunged forward, its shape twisting, threatening to consume her entirely. In a moment of sheer desperation, Lisa squeezed Sammy close, turned, and faced the abyss. "In the light of love, I refuse," she cried. She had to make a choice, perhaps a final one. In that promise, she felt something shift. With a blinding flash, the locket flickered a light that dispersed the shadows for a brief moment. But would it be enough? The figures screeched, warbling and shrieking as they unfurled again, angrier than before. And then, silence fell. The space warped and twisted, fracturing like glass under pressure. Lisa's heart hammered as she held her baby tighter, clinging to the glimmer of hope amidst despair. The darkness hesitated, shimmering in the air, caught in a strange limbo. "Lisa," the whispers morphed into something more sinister yet softer, "will you sacrifice your memories to save him?" Panic surged once more, fueling the question resonating within her. What cost was she willing to pay for her son? As shadows threatened once more, the resonance of her family echoed in her mind. Was there a greater strength in letting go? In that heartbeat of uncertainty, the question hung in the air, begging to be answered. Could she face herself to ensure Sammy's future? What would she give up to protect him? Lisa could feel the darkness pulsing around her, a living thing that thrived on her fear. Each tick of her racing heart seemed to echo like a drum, a countdown to either salvation or utter despair. Clutching Sammy, she tried to steady herself against the swirling shadows, the whispers mocking her. "Sacrifice your memories," the darkness taunted, swirling around them like a tempest. The weight of those words pressed down on her, threatening to suffocate her spirit. What did they mean, memories? What memories? The faces of her family danced before her eyes, her grandmother's smile, her mother's warm embrace. "No!" she shouted, breaking the suffocating bubble of fear. "They're mine. You can't take them." The shadows laughed, a cacophony of distorted voices merging into a symphony of chaos. "The past holds no power over us," they sneered. "You cling to it as a child clings to a toy. Let it go, and you may live." Trembling, Lisa felt a flicker of doubt ignite inside her. But in the depths of that doubt, another fire sparked, one that blazed with the love for her son. Memories, they were precious, but was she willing to risk everything for them? Could she swallow her desperation and rage? As if sensing her struggle, the shadows encroached rapidly, pushing her closer to the brink. She felt the cold caress of despair whispering seductively in her ear. Embrace the dark, Lisa. Find peace in submission. You will not have to suffer. Never. She screamed, gripping the locket tighter. The weight of it was now both an anchor and a key. I will not give in. You think you know what I've lost? I've lost everything, and yet I still fight. A crack of light radiated from the locket, blinding the shadows momentarily. But it didn't last. The figures recoiled, then surged forward again, thrumming with rage, busily twisting into more grotesque shapes, morphing into horrid faces, her friends, neighbors, all those who had vanished in Everwood. Join us, Lisa. They hissed, their hollow eyes pleading and menacing all at once. You'll never be alone again. All you have to do is surrender. The enchanting promise stirred something deep within her. The fear of abandonment gnawed at her. But there was also something deeper, a resolve that had been forged in the fires of her past. Sammy is not yours. He belongs to the light. She shouted, feeling the surge of power rise again. You want my memories, my pain? I will use them against you. The locket blazed anew, sending sparks that crackled and sparked against the encroaching darkness. With each burst, Lisa felt her strength restore, connecting her to her ancestors, the sacrifices made for her existence. Suddenly, the shadows froze, and the whispers crumbled into eerie silence. What is this? They howled, bewildered. The hesitation was palpable, thickening the air as if even the darkness itself was unsure of their next move. Get away from my baby! Lisa bellowed, channeling every ounce of her spirit into the locket. But the shadows lunged again, desperate to reclaim control. A surge of new energy, an old echo of love filled her heart, tethering her to the clarity of her purpose. She was not just a mother, she was a warrior for her child. Come forth, memories of the lost! She shouted defiantly. Guide me, protect me. In that moment, a blinding sphere of light erupted from the locket, piercing through the shadows like a knife. The darkness writhed and shrieked, the figures fading as they screeched in despair. But then, Lisa saw something. Within the vortex of light, the forms of her family emerged, their faces radiant, eyes filled with concern and love. They reached for her. Find us. Do not forget, they whispered, their voices weaving through the air. The shadows were retreating, but another question loomed, heavy and unavoidable. If she freed Sammy by calling on her family, what part of her would remain? As the last wail of the shadows echoed, the light dimmed to reveal the devastation left behind. The air, still thick with sorrow and fear, now shimmered with uncertainty. And among the flickering remains of the darkness, something twisted, still alive, watching, waiting. Is it over? Lisa whispered, her breath shaky as she looked into the void, but as she clutched her son tighter, she sensed the truth. It was merely the calm before an even deeper storm. What had awakened was no ordinary darkness, and danger lay lurking just out of sight. What would she do if the shadows returned, hungrier than before? And what piece of herself would she lose next? The air around them started to thrum with a new energy, something sinister creeping back as the shadows pulsed once more. Lisa squeezed Sammy to her chest, feeling his small body tremble against her heartbeat. It felt like ice was clawing up her spine, wrapping around her throat, stifling any words of reassurance that might leave her lips. Mommy? Sammy whispered, his voice quaking like a soft tremor amidst the rising dread. The abyss seemed to vibrate with anticipation, the whispers swirling again, and they no longer sounded like mere echoes. They were sharper now. More distinct. She must remember, she must pay. Lisa's throat tightened. Remember what? The shadows didn't just want her memories, they wanted her pain. Her sacrifices. It was a horrific realization. She stumbled upon a distillation of her grief, the very essence of loss that shadowed her every step. Hold on, baby, she urged, gripping the locket like a talisman. It warmed against her palm, responding to her heart's frantic beat. We have to go. And just like that, the darkness twitched, as if understanding her thoughts. The void split, revealing a narrow path shrouded in swirling mists, beckoning them forward. Lisa! A voice screamed, one that sliced through the fabric of her own fears. Charisse. Her friend. But how? Lisa, help us. Familiar faces flickered among the shadows. Charisse, Jake, even Mrs. Sanderson from down the street, their features twisted in agony, eyes wide with despair. Do not let them take you. It is not safe here. Her pulse thundered through her body. Charisse. Jake. You're an. The shadows roared, slashing their arms through the air like claws. The darkness surrounded the figures, pulling them back, their screams morphing into desperate howls. They are lost. You must choose. Be with them or be with the living. Tension crept up Lisa's neck. A choice? A choice between her lost friends and her son. But she knew what was at stake. An image of Sammy, wide-eyed and innocent, filled her mind. How could she choose the past over the future? Leave them. Lisa shouted, her voice sharp, resonating against the darkness. I want to be a part of your sadistic game. The shadows recoiled slightly, hissing in anger. Ignorance will cost dear, Lisa, they promised, their whispers slithering around her. You have no idea what you are rejecting. Just then, a pulse of light erupted from the locket, creating a bubble of illumination that pushed against the grasping darkness. For a fraction of a second, the figures of her friends emerged clearer, their eyes pleading. Fight! Fight for us! Charisse cried, stretching toward Lisa, reaching out as if the distance was simply a moment away, but then the darker forms surged. They were frantic, furious at the refusal to conform. Lisa felt the energy crackling in the air. She de-ignited something they had not expected. Shapes lunged toward them, each one more hideous than the last, the echoes of lost souls screaming from the depths of their twisted forms. Sammy, Lisa murmured, her heart pounding like a drum. Do you trust me? Yes, Mommy. He squeaked, his grip tightening on her. His unwavering faith ignited a fire in her chest. Go. She pushed aside the terror, focusing all her power into the locket. We will not belong to your dark legacy. As if ignited by her fierce declaration, the locket exploded in light, blinding her. Shadows recoiled as the brilliance carved through the gloom, purging the despair and revealing the truth beneath. The remnants of Everwood stood shivering in the fading shadows, houses haunted and empty, longing for resurrection, but those whispers never ceased. They morphed, becoming a chant that echoed through the realm, vibrating in her very bones. You cannot hide forever. The pain will find you. When the light finally dimmed, the darkness grew heavy again, but the figures of her friends were gone, leaving a chilling silence that felt like a verdict. What's happening? Where did they go? Sammy stammered, wide-eyed, her chest tightened as she stared into the void. I don't know. But deep down, she feared. It wasn't over. Like she wanted to believe. In the deepening silence, a low rumble trembled the ground beneath them. Something's coming, she warned, a shiver running down her spine, and from that confrontation with the past, a more sinister force began to awaken behind them, a presence that was elemental, darker than the shadows they had faced. What new horror crept toward them, and could they escape before it consumed the love they fought for? The rumbling intensified, shaking the earth beneath Lisa's feet. An ominous growl, low and primal, echoed through the air, sending a jolt of pure terror straight through her. She turned, eyes wide. We need to run, she rasped, heart racing, but there was nowhere to go. The mists had thickened, swirling around them like a living entity. Shadows coalesced out of the dimness, grotesque shapes throwing elongated silhouettes on the ground. Lisa felt their predatory gaze upon her, and Sammy an insatiable hunger that clawed at her sanity. Don't let them get you, she urged, pulling Sammy close. His tiny fingers dug into her side, a child's instinct to cling to security amidst chaos. "We can't leave," Sammy whimpered. "They're still here, they need help." "No!" Lisa shouted, fearless for his sake, yet panic laced her voice. "We can't help them, sweetheart. We have to focus on us." But even as she said it, memories flared in her mind, the faces of Charisse, Jake. Friends lost, now trapped in this tormenting void. The weight of her choice bore down on her like a mountain. A terrible screech sliced through the air, followed by a chorus of anguished moans. The earth shook more violently now, fissures opening up around them. Lisa steadied herself, clutching Sammy. "We have to fight. We've got to find a way out." Suddenly, the ground beneath them cracked, a black well opening wide, releasing a gushing wave of shadow. From its depths, a figure began to rise, tall, gaunt and cloaked in a shroud of darkness that flickered like flame. It hovered above them, its face obscured. Only a pair of burning red eyes peered through the veil, piercing the fog. "Lisa," the voice was smooth, a cold whisper that slithered through her mind. "You cannot escape your destiny. You will pay for your defiance. Leave us alone." Lisa screamed, all strength concentrated in her shout. But the dark figure only leaned closer, a smirk curling its concealed lips, as if amused by her feeble resistance. "Do you think you can run from the past? From the pain you've buried?" "No!" Sammy shouted, his small, brave voice ringing out, clear and defiant. "We want to let you take us." The shadow took a step back, as if Sammy's childhood innocence had a power of its own. But then the darkness surged forward, fingers like tendrils of night reaching out for them with the swiftness of a striking snake. "Stay close," Lisa commanded, dragging Sammy toward an opening, a flickering portal she barely registered. The air around it pulsed with a faint glow, like an ember in the gloom. "Mommy!" Sammy protested, pulling back, eyes darting to the faces trapped in shadows. "They're still suffering. Sammy." She turned, desperation clawing at her. "They are lost. We are not. Fleeing never helps," screamed the voice behind her, urgent and slashing, filled with resentment. "Did you think you could turn your back on us?" The ground quaked again, a violent tremor that nearly toppled them. Lisa felt despair washing over her. If they didn't move now, they would be swallowed by the darkness forever. "Mommy!" Sammy cried again, tugging her arm toward the portal. "Help them. We can't leave." In that moment, the locket around her neck pulsed with a sudden heat. The fabric of reality wavered like water, and with it, Lisa felt a wave of memories crash over her like a tidal wave, faces of all those she'd lost, each one crying out for help. Exquisite anguish threatened to shatter her resolve, but the abominable shake of fear couldn't halt the decision that fought through her heart like a stubborn flame. "Sammy, we'll find a way," she declared, fighting against the tide of sorrow. "Together." A twisting shadow lunged at them, but she caught a glimpse of a familiar keystone, an old rocking chair on the porch of her childhood home, slowly rocking back and forth, unseen hands at play. "Do you see it?" Lisa breathed, heart thrumming faster. "We have to reach that chair." Without a moment's hesitation, she pulled Sammy along. The shadows clawed and wailed. The darkness followed, relentless and fierce, a monstrous entity hungry for their souls. With every step, the world thinned, shadows closing in, but a spark ignited deep within Lisa. "Hold on tight." But as they dashed toward that flickering light, a loud wail erupted, too close, too personal. The cries of her friends filled her ears, the harbinger of a truth she still had to face. They needed her, but could she really save them without losing everything? And then, from the depths of the void, she felt an angry force surge forward, darkness swelling threateningly. "Go, Mommy!" Sammy screamed, voice trembling against the overwhelming cries. Just as they leaped toward salvation, another shriek rose up behind them, one that echoed with despair and madness, whispering promises of terrible fate. What if this time, they weren't meant to escape. The portal flickered like a dying star as they raced towards it, the cries of the damned echoing in a horrifying chorus behind them. Lisa's heart pounded in her chest, each beat like a war drum, urging her to keep moving. Shadows whipped around them, cold tendrils seeking to ensnare them in their eternal grip. In that moment, she could not afford to look back. "Mommy, I'm scared." Sammy's voice cut through the paranoia, raw and tremulous. "Just a little further," Lisa replied, forcing steadiness into her tone even as her chest tightened with fear. Suddenly, a horrible crack echoed, louder than thunder as the ground split further, jagged fissures allowing the shadows to crawl closer. Despair crept in like poison, seeping into her resolve. What if they never made it? What if they fell into the abyss? But there was the chair, glimmering now with an ethereal light, a beacon of hope in the oppressive darkness. She could almost hear its creaking, a calming call that urged her to remember the warmth of home. "Keep running," she shouted, her voice drowned out by another shriek, the voice of lost companions twisting into madness. A shadow lunged, swiping at her with a speed that sent shivers down her spine. Lisa barely dodged, pulling Sammy closer as she felt the icy breeze of the phantom's passing. Panic clawed at her mind. Were they out of time? "Mommy." Sammy's fingers tightened around her wrist. "Please. I need to help them." The words hung heavy in the air, laden with invisible chains. Lisa wanted to scream, to shout that they didn't have time for this, that they had to think only of their own survival. Yet there was a flicker of recognition in her son's eyes, a fire that ignited something deep within her, a memory of love, of warmth, of fighting for others even when it hurt. "Sammy, we can't help them," she insisted, desperation creeping into her voice. But the ghosts cried louder, painting despair onto her heart, urging her to look at their faces, to see their pain. "Look!" he shouted suddenly, pointing. "The chair. We can help from there." Lisa's gaze snapped back to where the rocking chair stood, now looming larger than the shadows, casting a shimmer of hope around it. It was a real choice, that chair could bridge their world and the one calling for aid. Her heart waged an internal war. What if we get trapped instead? She thought, sweat trickling down her spine. Every instinct screamed at her to flee. Yet another part whispered of the darkness that would consume their souls if they turned away. The shadows behind them roared, hungry for the warmth of their lives. The ground shook wildly beneath them, fissures creeping ever closer to swallowing them whole. "Mommy, please," Sammy pleaded again, his eyes wide and shimmering with unshed tears. "Help them. We can be brave together." The weight of the choice crashed over her, a wave of exhaustion and guilt. They could turn back, plunge into darkness, or try for the light and risk everything once again. Lisa's heart raced as she met her son's gaze, a bond stronger than the shadows surrounding them. "Okay," she choked out, heart twisting with fear. Without a second thought, she urged Sammy forward. The moment they reached the chair, an otherworldly sensation enveloped them. The air crackled and shimmered, a whirlpool of emotions tugging at Lisa's heart: anger, regret, love, all the paradoxes that defined human existence. "I'm coming for you," she screamed into the shadows, her voice a declaration of defiance. "I won't leave you behind." But just as they grasped the armrests of the chair, the ground exploded with a deafening roar. Tendrils of darkness shot out, wrapping them like chains, dragging them back as shadows leered and wailed. The whispers escalated into a howling frenzy, a cacophony of fear that threatened to consume their final moments. "Hold on!" Lisa shouted, clinging to the chair, refusing to be torn apart. But her grip was slipping, shadows clawing desperately at Sammy, his small frame trembling beneath the weight of burdening spirits. "Mommy! It's too strong!" he cried. The darkness roared in triumph. Just as a blinding light surged around them, illuminating the shadows, creatures of excruciating pain, their forms writhing and distorted, begging for release. In that split second, a flicker of realization sparked in Lisa, a memory of forgotten promises and shared laughter. But was there enough time? Suddenly, a laugh both chilling and inviting echoed around them, an emerging figure formless yet chillingly human. "Didn't you learn, Lisa?" It whispered, "You cannot escape what you owe." And then the world began to spiral, shadows weaving a tapestry of dread as the walls closed in. What had she truly unleashed? The darkness wrapped around Lisa and Sammy, a suffocating shroud that pressed against their skin like icy hands. Each heartbeat was a countdown, a grim reminder of the seconds slipping away. The elderly figure, its face obscured in shadow, watched them with cruel amusement. "Do you think you can save them?" It whispered, molasses-thick words dripping with malice. "Only the guilty may pass freely." Panic surged through Lisa as vivid memories flooded back her mistakes, the things left unsaid, the voices she had chosen to ignore. The thought of turning away from those desperate souls gnawed at her gut. She gasped, squeezing her eyes shut, trying to shut out the wailing echoes of loss surrounding her, but they only grew louder, piercing her heart like arrows. "Mommy, help!" Sammy choked, his little body trembling in her grip. The sight of him, so vulnerable, sparked a primal fear deep within her. She opened her eyes, desperate to do anything to push back the darkness. "Think, Lisa. We have to be brave." She urged herself, but the words felt like a thin veil against the oncoming storm. She turned, and in that moment, she saw the faces of the lost rising from the shadows, blurred eyes pleading, mouths moving silently, their despair painted vividly across their spectral faces. Each apparition reached out for her, their fingers elongated like vines, desperate for contact. "They need you," a whisper slithered around her, hooking deep into her consciousness. Was that a voice she recognized? No. She screamed, fighting the urge to falter. Not like this. But beneath her determination, a well of guilt threatened to drown her. Every misstep, every moment of hesitation crumbled away her resolve. The laughter around them echoed again, wrapping around her heart like a coil, tightening with every breath. "Your child's fear, it's deliciously palpable," the figure crooned, gliding closer. "He'll become part of my collection if you don't act. Let him go." She clutched Sammy, but the shadows clawed at her son's sweet face, pulling and tugging, twisting him as if they were hungry enough to rip him apart. "Mommy." Sammy's voice rose in pitch, panic spilling over. A sickening realization gripped Lisa. She had to act. The chair wasn't just a bridge, it was a weapon. But she was frozen, held hostage by swirling memories of the past, silent screams from ghostly faces around her. With a sudden surge of willpower, she forced herself to focus. "I have to let them go," she breathed, "but I'll do it with strength." Clenching her jaw, she took a step towards the shadows swirling beneath her feet. "Let go, Sammy." She yelled sharply, the words alien and instinctual. "We'll face them together. Trust me. Mommy, trust me." Imbued with urgency, she tore her gaze from the tortured faces, focusing on the chair ahead. She could feel the chair calling to her, thrumming with energy. The shadows recoiled slightly at her defiance, as if sensing the shift in her spirit. "Please," she whispered, glancing back at the shadows. "You don't have to be this way. I'll help you if you let my son go." Why would we allow such a freedom? The laughter echoed, turned to a furious shriek. All at once, the ground beneath began to tremble worse than before, fissures spreading like veins gone mad, as if the very earth was rejecting what was happening. The air crackled, alive with the energy of thwarted souls, and shadows surged forward, first like a wave, then, horrifyingly, with a determined thrust towards them. "Hold on, Sammy." Lisa's voice sliced through the chaos as she flung herself towards the chair. At that moment, everything started splintering apart, reality, the sounds, the very fabric of existence. She felt a pull, something deeper than gravity, something that resonated with the raw terror of the forgotten souls. The figure screamed, the shadow's forms wavered, and for a fleeting moment, Lisa thought she saw their faces transform, no longer mere echoes of despair but projections of their own inner torment. "I will save you all," she bellowed, craving the courage to turn the tides, to reclaim her son and find a way out. But had she gone too far? The darkness roared around her, and as she grasped the rocking chair, an unbearable pressure built within her like a storm on the horizon, threatening to shatter everything she knew. But would she bring salvation, or would she doom them all to an eternal plight? The chair hummed, and with one last scream, the shadows surged forward. What lurked beneath the surface, waiting to consume them? The moment Lisa's fingers wrapped around the chair's arms, the air thickened like molasses, and an oppressive weight crushed down upon her. Shadows writhed like serpents, coiling around her legs, dragging her into the abyss where hopelessness reigned. "Don't let go." Sammy's voice was frantic, trembling with an urgency that sliced through the lumbering dread. She could feel his small heart pounding against her side, a drumbeat of fear and love that surged through the storm. "Trust me, my love," she whispered, her voice barely audible against the din that roiled around them. She squeezed the chair tighter, feeling it pulse beneath her grip, responding to her desperation. With her heart hammering, she forced herself to meet the twisted faces of the lost souls, their eyes dark voids brimming with despair. Their mouths moved in silent screams, each a grotesque reminder of what awaited them if she failed. "What do you want from me?" she shouted, conviction blending with a plea. "You know what we seek," the figure murmured, its voice crawling into her ears, dancing on her senses. "Freedom, or will you take his place instead?" The threat lanced through her, igniting every fiber of her being. "No!" she roared, her spirit flaring with righteous anger. "I want to send him into that hell." As if provoked, the shadows lunged forward, slashing at her with icy fingers, trying to pull Sammy away. His frightened whimper broke her heart. In that moment, Lisa felt the floodgates of memory swing wide open, a rush of guilt, remorse, and regret. She envisioned the faces of those she had failed, the words left unspoken. "Did you think you could just walk away?" A cacophony of voices merged, echoing her own past decisions. "You left us to die, Lisa. Your inaction is the poison." "No!" she screamed, trembling with the weight of their accusations. "You're wrong." But the shadows tugged harder, dragging her son towards the ravenous void behind them. "Mommy. Please." Sammy's cry shattered the fog of her thoughts. Desperation clawed at her. Gritting her teeth, Lisa closed her eyes and focused on the chair. "I can help you," she shouted into the oppressive dark. "But you must let him go first." A moment of stillness hung heavy. The figure twisted its mouth into a smile, sharp and cruel, its eyes gleaming with dark amusement. "Help, you say? Very well, but your salvation is tied to your shame." The shadows recoiled, and suddenly, the chair surged with energy. It vibrated under her palms as visions cascaded around her. Fragments of her past played out, a best friend lost, a lover abandoned, voices calling out for her in agony. Each scene weighed her down, but then they ignited something else, a flicker of resolve. "I will not be defined by shame," she declared, her voice rising above the shadows. "I will take your pain, but you must let him free." The figure recoiled as if struck, the shadows hesitating, but the pull on Sammy grew stronger. In a heartbeat, she was back in the swirling chaos, clashing with the forces of anguish and regret. Lisa felt the tendrils of darkness sharpening around her son. "Sammy!" she yelled, her heart screaming out to him. "Let the chair take my guilt. Let it take me instead." "No. Don't say that," he cried, his little hands grasping at her shirt as the shadows began to slip through his fingers. In that breathless moment, she made her choice. With a fierce scream, she began to chant words long forgotten, thick with emotion and desperate longing. "I release my guilt. I release my shame. I take the bill for every wrong I've done." The shadows wavered, and for an instant, she thought they hesitated. But their clarity morphed into sheer rage, undulating, furious. The air crackled with energy, grooves forming deep in the earth beneath them. Foolish mortal. The figure blasted back, voice thunderous. You think you can change the tide? Your fate is sealed. The ground trembled violently, and then, everything erupted. Would the chair accept her sacrifice, or was it another trap designed to ensnare her? As the darkness surged, clawing at all she was, a piercing light burst forth from the chair, flooding the space around them. Lisa blinked against the brightness, struggling to hold on to her son. Could her desperation alter their destinies, or had she stepped into the final snare of despair? What truth waited to unveil itself in the blinding light? The brightness enveloped them, wrapping around Lisa and Sammy like the warm embrace of sunlight after a long winter. Each pulse of light felt like a heartbeat, steady and strong, as the shadows faltered against its brilliance. For an agonizing moment, it seemed the darkness would be obliterated, but just as quickly, the pressure returned, heavier than before, pressing against them, threatening to swallow the light whole. Hold on, Sammy! She shouted, gripping him tighter as the shadows hissed and writhed around them, their twisted forms retreating, unsure of how to combat the glow. Trust me. But Sammy was trembling, his little frame shaking even more fiercely as wavering faces formed in the dark. They're still here, Mommy. They need us. His voice carried the weight of innocence and compassion, cutting through Lisa's protective instincts. It wasn't just her son's safety on the line, it was the very essence of the community she'd once known, those who had vanished and left behind shattered souls in need of justice. The light flickered, and a soft voice emerged from its core, a voice she recognized as her grandmother's. Lisa, the choice lies with you. You can free them and yourself. Or you can walk away. What do I have to do? Lisa cried, desperation rising within her like a wave threatening to crash. Embrace your memories, those you cherish and those that haunt you. They are intertwined. Only through acceptance can light banish this darkness. The shadows stirred violently at the words, hissing in disapproval, gathering strength from her grandmother's voice. Lisa closed her eyes, inhaling deeply. I want to turn away. I'm grateful for each memory, both joy and pain. Suddenly, the light intensified, illuminating the faces of those lost within the shadows. Charisse, Jake, Mrs. Sanderson, they flickered like candle flames, desperate and pleading, but she could see their fear slowly shift to hope as the shadows withered under the glow. Let them go. Lisa shouted, her voice solidifying into an unwavering declaration. As if in response, the shadows writhed in torment, spiraling, battling against the efforts of the light. You cannot save them. They screeched, their voices like nails on a chalkboard, desperate to claw back the light within her. You will never be free, Lisa. You are one of us. No. She refused to be shackled by their despair any longer. I will forge a new path. I carry my past with me, but it does not define me. The power of her determination sent a shockwave through the air, shaking the very fabric of the darkness. Sammy squeezed her hand, eyes wide but steady. In that moment, they were united, two souls, battling against insurmountable odds. Together. She urged, drawing from the light and her connection to her son. We are more than our pain, together, we can heal. With that, a blast of brightness erupted from the heart of the rocking chair, enveloping them both. The shadows howled, scrambling to retreat as bright tendrils snaked through the darkness, reclaiming the light swept away in grief. Help us. The spirits wailed, their cries harmonizing with the primal essence of the light. One by one, they emerged from the tendrils, faces once twisted in despair now glimmering with a renewed warmth. You have given us a chance. Charisse's face shimmered in the glow, her features radiating relief. We're free. Thank you, Jake whispered as he slowly began to fade, his silhouette morphing into a soft glow that lit the darkened world around them. Lisa's heart swelled. You're not lost anymore. We're all free. And just like that, the darkness began to unravel. Shadows thinned, screaming as they collapsed in on themselves, one by one extinguished by the pure light radiating from the chair. The weight pressing against them lifted like a fog, revealing the familiar outlines of Everwood, alive with possibility. As the last of the shadows dissipated, a tranquil hush fell upon the ghostly echoes. The memories of those lost lingered for a moment longer, their relief tangible as they transformed into the gentle whisper of the wind, no longer desperate but resembling soft encouragement. Thank you. Their voices melded into one, filled with gratitude and peace. Lisa released a breath she hadn't realized she was holding. We did it, Sammy. We fought together. Her son looked up at her, his small face glowing with admiration. You're brave, Mommy. She smiled, wrapping him in her arms, feeling the warmth radiate from him, brighter than any shadow that had haunted their lives. We are as brave as we need to be. Together, we can face anything. And as they walked away from the remnants of darkness, a sense of hope filled the air around them. It would take time to heal, but they had defeated what once gripped the town in fear. Everwood could breathe again, but as they stepped into the light, remnants of shadows still lingered in the corners of her mind. The battles of the past wouldn't fade completely. Yet with each step toward the future, Lisa vowed she would confront them with love, embracing both the light and the darkness in the journey ahead. Mommy, let us go home. Sammy said, his voice full of excitement. Yes, let us go home, Lisa replied, heart brimming with hope as they ventured back into the vibrant world, the adventure behind them, the echoes of the lost fading gently, leaving space for new stories, new memories to be forged together. This was their new beginning. And if you want to witness more amazing stories just like Lisa's and explore what awaits in the shadows and light, you need to subscribe now. Smash the like button right this second to power up our community and keep this momentum going. Your engagement makes all the difference. Flood the comments section with your thoughts. What did you think of the ending? What do you want to see next? Let's get that conversation rolling, and don't wait even one more second. Instantaneously share this video with at least 5 friends who need to be part of this ride. True fans come together, so let us amplify our voices.